accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. But we think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you who we think we are. And you see us as you want to see us. In the simplest terms, with the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain, and an athlete,
and a basket case, a princess,
and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
Hello, welcome to the Bench Movie Club. My name is Ben.
I'm Charlie.
And today we're talking about the 1985 cult classic, The Breakfast Club.
Is it cult?
It's a cult classic?
I'd say
It is
classic.
a cult. Classic.
I'd just say classic.
Classic.
It's the epitome of an 80s film, isn't it? If you said an 80s film that is,
This would definitely be up there.
it would not fit in any other decade. It doesn't look like aesthetically, it's 80s. Story, characters, everything about it is 80s.
Yeah.
And yes, this year is the 40th anniversary of The Breakfast Club.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it came out 7th of February in America and the 7th of June in the UK. So we're midway for the 40th anniversary.
So it was already out then?
In America it was 40
already out
years
40
ago.
years ago.
And in June it had been coming out in the UK. So this is the best time to do it, really. It's a good time to do it.
On the 40th anniversary.
And did you know, I made a note of this, the 16th of February this year, you're officially a 21st century person then. Because what that means is, from the 16th of February this year, you would have lived in this century more than what you lived in the last century. You specifically, Ben.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm 51 in September.
It's 2025.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I worked it out, because I worked it out a little while back. I was thinking...
I don't remember being that young when it came into the millennium then. I thought I was about 30.
Well, you're half your age. You was literally half your age when you came into the millennium. You've lived that life again since then. The Breakfast Club, starring Emilio Estevez, who's in Judgment Night. You ain't seen that yet, have you?
Is that a new film or an old film?
It's him. So it's in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
Very good. Young Guns, Wisdom. He was actually married to Paula Abdul from 92 to 94.
I didn't know that.
And he was once engaged to Demi Moore. You've got Anthony Michael Hall, who was in Edward Scissorhands, Halloween Kills, Weird Science. All the characters that he played in John Hughes films are based on John Hughes.
So it's 16 Candles and all that as well.
Yeah. So when John Hughes was writing those, that was basically...
So he was like the nerdy boy.
He was the nerdy boy. So that's probably why he liked him so much. He reminded him of himself when he was younger. That's why he was his muse. Judd Nelson, who also starred in St. Elmo's Fire, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and the Transformers movie, the animated one from the 80s, which you wouldn't really care about, but loads of people love that film. I remember it. It's that song, "You Got the Touch."
Yeah, don't ring no bells.
You get the power, and Optimus Prime dies at the beginning. Anyway, he voiced Hot Rod, who takes over. He was once engaged to Shannon Doherty.
Okay.
Molly Ringwald, who's in Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, and The Pickup Artist with Robert Downey Jr. She turned down Pretty Woman and Ghost. Both Pretty Woman and Ghost. She turned them down so that she could do...
A couple of films that obviously no one knows about.
Betsy's Wedding and Strike It Rich.
Well, that's a bad choice.
Strike It Rich with Robert Lindsay. Citizen Smith. Done a film with him rather than Ghost and Pretty Woman. I mean, people make bad mistakes, but that
all the time.
I mean, she had a great 80s career anyway. She was like the go-to girl, but those were the transition to her into adulthood.
But the only films that she's known for really are John Hughes films, and that's 3 films.
Yeah,
that's 3 films that she made, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know if she'd really be anywhere.
But this is it. Could have been so different if she'd done them 2 roles, Ghost and Pretty Woman. You know what else she was offered? A few years later, She was offered the part of Sidney Prescott in Scream by the screenwriter Kevin Williamson because he was such a fan of Breakfast Club.
So she could have then done the Scream Queen bit, like
She would
Jamie Lee
have been,
Curtis.
so basically, it was the Nev Campbell. So so her career. Imagine she'd done Pretty Woman, Breakfast Club, and then went on to do Ghost. And
also because she was that teen heartthrobbing in them films, it would have made it more of an impact when she gets killed or getting chased after, like the
she
murderer
wouldn't have been killed
chasing her.
because she was the main one.
No, that's it. The murderer chasing her.
But she turned it, into her credit, the reason she turned it down, she said she doesn't want to be like a 27-year-old playing a teenager, even though the rest of the Scream cast were in their mid-20s anyway. So it would have been too far-fetched. But
also the Breakfast Club cast.
Yeah, well, apart from her and
Anthony Michael Hall was 16. I think the rest of them was, I think Ali Sheedy was about 23, and I think the other two were about 26, 25, 26.
23. Because Judd Nelson and Emilio Estevez both went to local schools to blend in despite being 23.
But it doesn't really notice in the film. You don't look and go, he's 10 years older than her.
No. I mean,
or he's 8 years older, or she's like 8 years old. You don't look.
But they done St Elmo's Fire the same year, pretty much, or a year later, and in that they're all playing like college, much
them
older.
Two ain't in it.
I know, but I'm saying them, the other three.
But they're probably the same age as everyone else. The cast in that, they're probably all in their 20s.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing. They played teenagers one year, and the year later,
that's the same as Grease. Same most films, but I don't think it really matters as long as the roles are good. Like I thought, Sean Michael J. Fox was probably late 20s when he played Marty McFly, but you don't ever look at it and go, no, it's wrong cast and all that, do you? I don't think it really matters.
He always looked young.
Yeah, but also like Grease, they're all blatantly late 20s, a lot of them, but you don't look at it and go, that's a load of crap. Do you know what I mean? You just get, if you got the right actor for the role, it doesn't matter because you believe the characters. Same as in this. I never knew there was that much of an age difference between them all. I thought there was a couple of years. I knew they was older than what they was. Although I didn't know them two were 16. I thought they was probably about 19. You know, I didn't know they was actually the ages of what they're supposed to be in the film. But because I think he'd done 3 films with her, I think that was a year after each other. So realistically, I think her John Hughes films was probably in a space of 3 to 4 years max.
Yeah.
And then that was it. She done other films, but then she lost that. Like everyone knew her name in the 80s. You all knew her name. You all knew Molly Ringwald. And but it was only really from them 3 films. I knew that she was in a Pickup Artist. I don't think I ever see it. And there was a thing called Betsy's Wedding, as she said. But they never, ever took off. They was never this kind of league. You know, they'll be hard to find nowadays kind of thing. So it shows her and Anthony Michael Hall both broke away from John Hughes because they wanted a better career. It proved that realistically that he was what made them. Yeah. Because even Anthony Michael Hall, he done other stuff, but not to this level as well. He's done might have started doing some more things now, but it's because he's got a completely different look now. He doesn't look nothing like that young boy that he was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, since you bring it up, let me say what this is the factual take on that. The relationship between Hughes and Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall. Hughes was at the height of his powers. Hughes, Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald were essentially a clique together. Strange as that was, since Hall and Ringwald were teenagers and Hughes was in his 30s. Feeling like he'd missed out on his group bonding activities that usually make up people's childhood, Hughes wanted to be a teenager again, and maybe was reliving this through Hall and Ringwald. And Hall and Ringwald genuinely liked him. He was like their crazy, funny older brother, who also happened to be a Hollywood power player, who had vaulted them both to the top of the A-list. So for a year or two, 1984 to 1985, during the filming of 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink and Weird Science, the 3 of them would hang out, go to restaurants and clubs and concerts and were friends. All of this ended after The Breakfast Club, when Hall rejected Hughes for the Ducky role in Pretty in Pink. And then Ringwald rejected Hughes' pitch for them to be in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Some Kind of Wonderful, which were originally going to star Ringwald and Hall, just like The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles. In fact, this might have very well gone on forever if Hall and Ringwald hadn't put a stop to it. And at that point, the terrible trio broke up. And in fact, they rarely, if ever, spoke to Hughes much again after that. Hughes stopped making teen movies and started making kids' movies, Uncle Buck and the incredibly successful Home Alone. which at that point was the most successful comedy ever made. But many felt the magic was gone, that without his team muses, Hugh and Ringwald, and without the comfort of the genre he created, Hugh's spirit and creativity sort of died, and the movies he made after were never quite the same. Both Hall and Ringwald, as well as others, have spoken extensively about this.
Yeah. In a way, it had to end there maybe for him to do Planes, Trains, Automobiles, Home Alone and all that kind of stuff, because they're obviously really big films as well. Uncle Buck and all that as well.
Yeah.
But I love that teen thing. I've never known anyone else that could write from a teenager's brain as well as what he did. Because, I personally, my love for this film, I was, I think, 15, 16 when I see it. It was on telly one night. And I don't know, I just watched it and it grabbed me straight away. I was going through what they was going through. You knew that one of them characters you could identify with either little bits of each of them or one character, and I think it made me cry. I think I was like, because I felt so
scared.
No, what's I scared of? I was so sort of, I felt I weren't alone. Maybe, and I think that's what with teens. It was like there wasn't social media and stuff back then, and it was more of a lonely place apart from talking to your friends. So there was no outlet, and you didn't know if other people felt the same. So you only find out through your own friends and stuff like that. But I remember watching this film and just falling in love with it, and it was I spread it around. I mean, like to my little brothers and sister and all that. I remember one time I was babysitting for Stephanie and Billy, and I dressed my cousin Adam up, and and Stephanie, Billy, sister Rose, dressed them up and done the recreation of the Breakfast Club poster. And we had like all that
scene here.
Yeah, no, but we done. I loved it so much. I wanted everyone to experience it, and it was so well done. And then I think maybe through that might have been how I found John Hughes films, or maybe I'd seen a John Hughes film before. But I know I loved these films. Growing up in the 80s, at that age, all these lovely 80s films, all the John Hughes, all that kind of teen. There was a lot of them kind of teen movies at that time. It was a very big teen high school kind of movie, and it was always that you knew what was going to happen, like the Shore thing and things like that. I loved, and so many films. I can't even think of them now, but loved all that era, and I love being at that age when these films come out, because that is so special, because it's so identifiable. But even now, Breakfast Club is still so identifiable. That's why it's so popular, because even though it's 40 years later, teenagers are still the same. They're going through different things. Things have changed. Social media now, phones, and
but it's all relatable.
It's still the same. It's all relatable.
It's this the social nightmare of high school.
Yeah.
And Lily, like, she took to John Hughes films very quickly. As soon as she started watching them, she was like, "Wow, these are films about me, about my world."
Yeah. And even though it was made even before her dad was that age. Like, you wasn't even the age.
I mean,
I was the age, so their uncle was the age of these people.
When I first watched Breakfast Club, I was too young for it. I was just sort of like, oh, well, they're just a bunch of kids talking. You don't
get it until you're a teenager, till you're going through that. Then you watch it and you go, yeah, you get that. You've got that character in school. You've got that character in school.
And the pressures they're going through from their parents and stuff. Also, you got Ali Sheedy, who's in War Games, Short Circuit. She's having a baby. She turned down Top Gun and was considered for Sarah Connor in the Terminator films.
Yeah, see, that would have been good for her.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, Sarah Connor's, because obviously she would have then done Terminator 2 as well, the first one. She also played Molly Ringwald's sister in Betsy's Wedding.
Oh, okay.
So they were in that together.
So they probably tried to sort of think, that would be good. They've got them two in it from Breakfast Club. It's going to be something. But
but that happens a lot with this particular cast. I didn't bother writing it down, but basically there's like about 20 odd films that various cast members from this film starred again together. Regarding supporting ones, you got Paul Gleason from Trading Places, John Capellos, The Shape of Water, Ron Dean, who plays Emilio Estevez's dad. Do you recognise him? He's. I'll tell you what I recognise him from. I've looked at his face. He plays one of Marty's mates out of Frasier. He plays Frank. when he plays the card games with him and stuff like that.
I'll have to look at it again. He's only in it such a short amount of time that...
Oh yeah, he basically gives him a little lecture. And at the very end, because obviously Brian gets dropped off by...
his mum.
His real life mum.
Oh, is that his real life mum?
That's his real life mum.
And his sister, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's his real sister.
Yeah. So they at that little part, they drop him off. But his dad picks him up, and his dad is played by John Hughes. So when you see it, it's John Hughes that's sitting there.
Because you see Allison's dad. I mean, sorry, you don't. You see Claire's dad. Because she's been skipping school to go shopping. You don't see Allison's mum or dad. Like you just see the car pull up. You don't see John Bender's parents. Emilio Estevez, yes, his father, and that's it. And Brian's mother. That's it. But I mean, I love this film. I just understood everything about it, and I loved that I could identify with something on the screen. And that's what I liked a lot about all them 80s films, though. A lot of them 80s films were the same.
And this one has loads of little Easter eggs in it as well. For repeat viewing, like when you watch it the next time, you might spot. Or if someone else points it out to you, you go, oh, okay, I didn't realise that. Like I just said with John Hughes and stuff. And at the beginning of the film, knowing it has the little shots from around the school, you see the damage that was done by the flare gun, what you mentioned. Because you see it's all like burnt. That was from the flare gun.
Right.
You also...
So I never noticed that, and I've seen it so many times. I've never noticed that.
And did you notice this? Because obviously there's a bit where it's got pictures of the former students' Man of the Year.
Yeah.
One of them is the janitor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's a younger picture of him. So it's saying as if, even though he was Man of the Year, he used to go to that school. He's now just a janitor.
Yeah.
So it's nice little sort of...
I like that. I like them little details that you I've never noticed.
So this is it. You can watch it again now and you go, yeah, there's the damage caused by the flare.
I love it.
Yeah, that's John Capellas when he was younger. Some Kind of Wonderful also ends with the new boyfriend-girlfriend giving a previously represented earring. Like when she gives an earring. Happens in Some Kind of Wonderful as well. That's another John Hughes.
All of John Hughes' teen films, in fact all his films, I mean, there might be the odd little dud one somewhere, but I think he made some real classics. Like he's got some fantastic films that are still good today. John Hughes has got so many films that are still like relevant for today, and there might be a couple of duds in there, but there is so many good ones. As I say, there's the Home Alone 1 and 2.
But regarding his teenage ones, what is there one in particular that you would say doesn't speak to you?
No, there's some that I'm not as
bothered about
as others. In fact, I think I like all of them. I like 16 Candles, Weird Science, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful.
I'll tell you one.
What else is there?
I'll tell you one which I don't think you're that bothered about, and I'm not that bothered about, to be honest. Is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah,
which I know is got a huge cult following.
Yeah,
that's one of his. I think that was one of his most successful.
Yeah,
and I get it, and I've watched it,
and I like it.
It's entertaining.
I don't. Yeah,
but it feels like a different kind of film.
It feels like a different director,
even though that is set at the same school as this school. It's meant to.
It hasn't got the same feel as all the others. All the others have got the feel together. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. I love it. It's a good film, good story, but there's something different about that one. It doesn't feel like a John Hughes film.
But they all exist. Them, in particular, Ferris Bueller and Breakfast Club, are in the same world. Yeah. They're the same school. So you're supposed to believe that these 5 kids there know of Ferris Bueller anyway, because he goes to the same school as them. In 2018, Molly Ringwald wrote an article for The New Yorker criticising the fact that Bender sexually harasses, assaults and bullies Claire, and that despite this, they end up together. But she does stand by the film and as a product of its time, and it's said it's beneficial in helping teenagers with their identity and etc. So she respects the film for what it is. But I actually agree with her. It's not about... I've always agreed with her. I always thought that Bender, who's meant to be like a bit of a bully anyway, like watching it the other day, I feel exactly the same way. I feel... she gets the worst of it, Claire, because it's like they're all having a little laugh and joke, and she'll try to join in, and all of a sudden he'll start digging her out, and they all start digging her out. And I think this is a young girl who's fragile, and they're just really leaning into her. You know,
you're talking from also as a father of a daughter as well.
Yeah, I know, but I always felt that. Even when I was younger, I thought, why is he being horrible to that girl?
Oh yeah, no, he is. Yeah, he's a bit horrible. He's horrible
So,
as well. It's like when you pull someone's hair if you fancy him, like pull their hair in the playground. It's like if you're like, you know, kiss chasing or whatever. It's like because he fancies her. I think, I don't know, but it doesn't justify.
Yeah, possibly.
It.
It's believable. Don't get me wrong. It's totally believable that because you get loads of women who they will respond positively to being treated negatively. It's like horrible blokes to women, and they just want to be with them. They want to sort of please them, and he shows her enough tenderness that she feels as if like, oh, okay. And you know, girls are attracted to the bad boy because you can see Emilio Estevez's character is being nice to her, and he's from the same world as she is. Really, they're like the sort of the kid. The
She's not interested
kids.
in him.
She's not interested in, but they're like the popular kids.
They should be like the prom king and queen, shouldn't they? Really, because he's like the jock and she's the princess.
And he's sort of defending her, and he's sticking up for her, and I make him right for sticking up for her.
Yeah,
you know, I think he's totally right. And I really like the film.
No, I
think the film's brilliant.
I do agree with what you're saying.
But I actually, with most things like this, I do go like, oh, it's snowflake generation. But I do think she has a point. I do think, you know, but it's also, it doesn't make the film less because of it.
No.
It's just worth acknowledging that isn't how you should treat it.
But it's also realistic, as you said. It's also realistic because it's like, and then she ends up falling for him. So she's obviously attracted to him, even though he's treating her like shit. And as you said, like a lot of girls, and I'm sure boys as well, it's like they go after the unattainable. They want to change them. They want to sort of be the one. I will train this one. I will train. It's like
it's an ego trip.
Like,
because there's so many like there's many women who will deliberately go with a bloke who's a bad boy who everyone's like warning them off because they think subconsciously they think if I'm the one to tame him, that reflects brilliantly on me. They think he was terrible. Then he met her and she pulled him in line, you know, and she made him the whole man that he could be. But it never happens. It very rarely happens that a bloke will sort of change how he is for a woman. But they'll hang on thinking. And also it's more exciting for them. Yeah. Rather than being with a guy who goes, yeah, I'll give you whatever you want. It's like, well, where's the challenge? Yeah. I get everything I want from you. This guy, I have to work for it. But it makes it more rewarding.
That's not changed 40 years later.
No.
And 40 years before that. And 40 years before that.
It's always the way.
Since the beginning of time.
And you know what it's like? It's like pigeons. You ever watch pigeons when they're doing their little mating dance? And it's got the bloke pigeons putting his head up and down, circling round her, and she's playing hard to get, running round, and he'll just berate her. He'll go round her until eventually she gives in. It's just the dance. It's the mating dance. You know, can't do it anymore though.
No, it's been banned. Yeah, Ali Sheedy got this part because of her role in War Games. Yeah, I've never seen War Games.
I did when I was really young. I did.
I
remember it being entertaining enough, but it was back when you didn't have access to it. Was on TV, you know. So I watched bits of it.
We had cable though, didn't we, when we was younger? We was actually.
That's probably what it was. It was probably on either the movie channel, which was number 16, or Sky Movies, which was number 21.
Because I remember getting cable when I was I just started secondary school. So how old was I? 11. So how old would I have been? Would that have been 1986? 85? I was born in 74.
We got cable around about 1990. I'm sure we did.
No, I was in the lower school.
Because it was around about the launch of Simpsons, which was 89.
I was in the lower school in St Bernard's, and it was only for the 2 years there. So I started secondary, so I was 13.
Yeah, but you was held back a few years.
Oh.
Speaking of war games, you know, there's the bit where she says about travelling and going, and the places where she says she wants to travel to. So Israel, Africa, Afghanistan. And you think you wouldn't want to go to any of those places at the moment. But yeah, it just shows it's a thing of its time. Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald briefly dated during production.
Oh, I think it might have just been just after.
Oh. Well,
or during, maybe during.
Yeah. They were also the first two who were cast, as you can imagine, because that's John Hughes' muses, isn't it?
The dandruff that Allison shakes onto the pencil drawing for snow was achieved by sprinkling Parmesan cheese. Yeah, but that smelled nice. Actress Ali Sheedy did not actually use her real dandruff, as she is often accused of doing. She did, however, eat the sandwich filled with pixie dust and unrefined sugar, just as it looks like in the film.
Yeah, and I think she had sort of a bit of reaction to it. She sort of like felt a bit hyper afterwards.
Oh, you would do.
Yeah.
That sugar and
because she does it. She usually eats quite healthy.
And that is, and then little tubes of like the sherbety dust, so the pixie dust, whatever that is.
But also, she puts crisps in there, doesn't she?
And popcorn.
Yeah, but at the
She
same
ate
time,
it anyway. Whatever it was, she ate it.
I know. I remember watching it and never thinking it was that weird though, because we eat crisp sandwiches over here anyway, don't we? Sometimes. So I think as a kid you look and go, oh, okay, it's interesting.
Yeah, but I've never.
But I think in America
it's
it's
the
more
sherbety stuff and the sugary stuff on it. Yeah, Anthony Michael Hall hit a growth spurt during production. It was actually shorter than John Bender, but by the end of production, he was taller than him. Because that's the ages as well, isn't it? At that age, that's when you're changing. Yeah.
And it's got the bit of them doing that dance like that, and you see he's in the middle, and he is taller than the two of them. I mean, Emilio Estevez has always been short anyway, so he's probably always.
That's the same as in Bugsy Malone. You know, the one who's supposed to play Blasey Brown.
Yeah,
she didn't play
recast.
Blasey. She was recast, and she's got like one word in it. I think she plays Dandy Dan's wife. Yeah, but she was originally Blasey. But by the time they come to filming it, she looked too old. So then that other one was given it.
This film was almost called The Lunch Bunch.
Lunch Bunch. Yeah, no, it's Breakfast Club. But then again, if it had been called Lunch Bunch, we wouldn't have known no different.
And someone said, oh, it was almost called Breakfast Club.
Yeah, we'd go,
rhyme.
John Hughes said getting the film greenlit by Universal wasn't easy because the executives complained that there was no bare breasts, no party scene, no guys drinking beer or other things they thought a teenage picture needed at the time. If you think all them 80s tens, it's always got a pair of tits in it.
Polkies and
there's always tits. There's always a pair of tits in it somewhere along the line, and there's alcohol, and which a bit, you know what? You don't notice when you're watching it. You just think, okay, because remember we had page 3 girls, and you know, so every day in the newspaper you had a page 3 girl. So it was a young girl, topless, and it was just the norm. And it's only like that only changed probably about 10 years ago, maybe. Was it longer than that?
No, I don't think it's longer than that. I was listening to.
They now have like a sort of bikini clad girl or clad girl or something.
They don't even have that now because apparently I was listening to a podcast about this yesterday. Funny enough, now films deliberately try to desexualize things. They don't like sexual things, and apparently because Generation Z doesn't like it. They don't like seeing a film where anyone is sexualised in any way. So they try to sort of keep it to a minimum.
That's because they're all worn out with internet porn.
It is.
That's probably that.
That's exactly what it is. It's because pornography is so readily available.
We didn't have all that when I was younger.
No.
We found like a magazine in the woods or something. It was all stuck together. That was the closest you got to seeing anything. And that was really rare to find something like that. You never sort of see... You see tits all the time because... That was obviously in the newspapers.
Page 3.
You never see nothing below the waist with men or women, ever. No. Maybe the little glimpse of something you go, oh, and it would be so shocking to see anything because it was so not publicised anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, you never see it anywhere. Like, you never see nothing. You're very rare. In fact, I probably could pinpoint the films that I did see some sort of genitalia in it because it was so like,
rare.
Oh, I see something in that one. And it's only like a split second, but I see in that. I remember there's a couple of films that I do remember.
There was actually used to be a website that would point out exact moment.
Yeah, I probably could have done that in my younger years. I know there was a film with Richard Gere. I think it's called Breathless or something. There was a film with Tom Cruise called All the Right Moves, and it's just literally a couple of frames, but you see something, you know, and it's like, and that was like shocking back then.
Yeah.
But now you just porn up. That's it. I am over 18. But I think it's better that way because it was. I think it was
you
more.
You had to work for it.
Yeah. No, I think it was.
Or you had to use your imagination. You had to imagine things.
Yeah.
You know, whereas now
I think sex is just so desensitized now. I think basically it's got like it's so freely there that it's lost its. I mean, don't get me wrong, sex is great, but I think it's like the power of the chase and the like, you know, you ain't got to fight and so hard to get it. You know, you can just basically, there's apps you can just allow someone to come around your house. You know, even if you're married, you could be on your meal break and go and have a shag. There's so much around there. It's just, It's I don't know.
We'll
I
put
don't
the
know.
apps in
Look
the
at that. Look at the girl
description,
that done
so
the
you
1,000 blokes and all that kind of thing.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This is what's happening now. No, she wasn't crying about it. She wants to do another record.
No, there was one who done it, and she was.
No, she's done 100. That one done 100.
I've done 100.
But then she said, "Oh no, that was just because I was overwhelmed." And then because obviously she doesn't want all her followers to think that she didn't like it.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is the world we're living in now.
It does. It's important because things like that sort of dictate the rest of your life. Like I didn't see. I remember seeing a magazine once in the woods, but the only thing I had.
I think I only see one, something like that once.
Yeah, well, the only sort of pornography that I had access to, as it was on a Saturday night on Sky Movies at 10 o'clock. They would show a light porn film. It was like you never see genitalia, you would see boobs, and that would be about it. And I used to have to take the film and go through the whole thing and edit out the 4 or 5 bits where you actually see breasts. They were simulating sex, like on a tennis court or something. And then I stuck it all together at the end of my Spider-Man videotape. And I'd watch it in my bedroom and go, oh, look at that. And I remember one time I was watching it and you've come in my room. You've gone, what's going on? And I've quickly pressed rewind. And you went, what are you watching? I went, Spider-Man. You went, show me. And I pressed play. And luckily I rewound it just enough that Spider-Man was playing. You went,
what was I doing that? Being dickhead brother.
Because that was your MO.
Yeah.
I noticed that she was looking at an album, Ali Sheedy. She was looking at it, and I thought, Prince album, so I took a photo of it, sent it to George. What album's that? And he said, that's 1999. That was the...
He'd know.
Yeah. But then I found out there was actually a deleted scene in which Allison breaks into the teacher's locker using a switchblade, which I assume is the switchblade she took off of Bender. Because remember, she grabs it, doesn't she? She pulls it off the table. And she finds a copy of 1999 and remarks, you know what this means? They're human.
I think I've actually seen that deleted scene. This is the thing. This is another thing with this film. Right, when you love a film so much, when I first see it, it was on the TV. I then went out and bought a video because I think it was videos at the time, and I went and bought the video because I loved it. And I was just Breakfast Club. I even said to my Granddad George, it was my birthday coming up. I think my 16th birthday, and he said, "What should I get?" I goes, "I want the Breakfast Club soundtrack." Bless him, he bought it was a band called the Breakfast Club. Oh. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he's like, are you happy with that? And I went, oh yeah, thanks. And I thought, you know,
shit.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't, you know, like, I thought, bless him.
But they get
but he didn't know. It was called the Breakfast Club. He didn't know that what I was talking about. Mine was a soundtrack, and it was hard to get things like that back then. When I thought the video, and I watched the video for the first time, I was surprised because in the TV version I watched, there was no swearing in it. And I was like, oh, like there's a couple of swear words, and it's like that shocked me. That I thought, oh. But looking at the back cover, there was 2 pictures on there that were in the film. There was
Ali Sheedy with
the vampire teeth, and the one of all 5 of them sitting on that railing. You know, because you only see 4 of them because he's up in the roof again. Then I looked into it as years have gone on, and the original cut I think was about 2.5 hours long. So it's got about another hour of footage that was cut from it. And it was a full film, and they cut it because, for some reason or another, they cut this, cut that, cut this, cut that. And, okay, that's all well and good, because the film works. Maybe with them extra cuts in it, it might not have worked as much, I don't know. But I would love to see that version. And apparently, there is the version around still somewhere, but I think if it was really around... If it was around, I think it probably would have been released by now. I think it might just be that the fact that it's gone now.
Well... As I said, it is the 40th anniversary this year. You can still hope.
Yeah, but they've bought. Listen, I've looked at every anniversary thing, like the 15th, the 20th, 25th, 30th, and they like one of them did have the deleted scenes in it. Vernon is based on a wrestling coach from John Hughes High School who flunks him in gym. Hughes ran into him later, and the coach said the movie was good, but the teacher was a real jerk. Obviously based on him. So.
You often find that though.
Yeah.
When people are shown a reflection of themselves, they don't like it.
No.
They run away screaming, as they say in Never Ending Story.
Claire's complete outfit was purchased from a Ralph Lauren store, the only one in Chicago at the time. John Hughes rejected the original costume on the grounds that it wasn't sophisticated enough. So her whole outfit was...
Well, their outfits, the costumes, they put a lot of thought into it because all their outfits reflect who they are as people. Like John Bender's stuff is like... it shows how poor he is, because it's just a mishmash of clothes, layers, because where he obviously comes from a cold house, probably has no heating. Emilio Estevez's character is obviously the jock wearing all the clean-cut sports stuff, well-fitted. Then you got the little nerdy with his green and whatever, and then you got Ali Sheedy, sort of like dark, almost.
All loads of layers, just layers upon layers upon layers. The BMW driven by Claire's father actually belonged to John Hughes.
The poster was satirised for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 poster. Have you seen that? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 poster. I've seen that, and it's got like the like leather face,
leather faces,
and they're all sort
of
like posing like
the
Breakfast Club.
Oh, right. Ali Sheedy had first auditioned for the part of Samantha Baker in 16 Candles, which went to Molly Ringwald. When Sheedy auditioned, she had 2 black eyes from a set building accident. The black eyes gave her a dark gothic image, which stayed with John Hughes. When it was time to cast the part of Allison Hughes, he remembered and he called Sheedy. So that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. So going on to casting, there's loads of people who were considered, nearly had the part, or were even cast. Like Nicolas Cage was considered for Bender.
Right, I can see that. Yeah,
you can see that. Rob Lowe auditioned for the part of Bender. Also considered was Sean Penn and John Cusack, who was actually cast as Bender. But then, so he was there for like pre-production and stuff. But then John Hughes felt he couldn't believe him as a horrible person. As
he was quite clean cut looking, wasn't he? Like in Sure Thing.
Yeah,
it's quite innocent looking.
John Candy was considered for the janitor.
Yeah, I could see that.
They actually had Rick Moranis as the janitor for a while.
Yeah,
but he was doing it. He was playing the part with like a Russian accent, and it was too comedic. It was like it doesn't sit well in the film because the film's more
ain't comedy like that.
Laura Dern, she auditioned for both female parts. Robin Wright auditioned for Claire.
Right.
Jodie Foster was also considered for Claire.
Okay.
Because she would have been about the right age at the time.
Yeah, I suppose. No, she would have been. Well, she would have been one of the older ones.
Yeah, but you got to think, Taxi Driver was 75 and she was like
14.
So she would have been about the age of the other, the older 23-year-olds. Yeah. Brooke Shields was considered for Allison.
Oh, for Allison? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I remember also Emilio Estevez was originally Bender, but then he changed him. He thought, no, I think he couldn't cast the jock properly or happily, so he changed him.
Oh, he suits that role. I think they're all really well cast.
But it's because if you look at the Emilio Estevez films prior to this, he was always that sort of rebel, young teenage rebel, like films like Repo Man and stuff.
Yeah, but not threatening though. Never threatening.
But also, if Hughes couldn't get Emilio for the what's his name? The character's name? Andrew.
John Bender. Andrew Clark.
Yeah. If Hughes couldn't have got Emilio for Andrew, he also would have considered Michael J. Fox, Tom Cruise, Matthew Broderick, and also Rob Lowe again. Or Jim Carrey, who both of them auditioned for Bender as well. So Jim Carrey auditioned for Bender.
Right, okay.
And Molly Ringwald was originally offered Allison.
Okay.
Yeah. So the film could have, loads of those castings could have worked, but it could have been...
It's hard to imagine once you know a film and you love the characters and you love everything about it, then to try and imagine different actors in it.
Well, the only person who was always solidified was Anthony Michael Hall. There was no other person considered for that role. He was never moved about. But if you're struggling to sort of picture it, I've actually made a poster. There.
Thanks. Yeah, the switchblade used in the movie actually belonged to Judd Nelson. He explained that he had it for protection purposes.
Not bad. You know what? It surprises me though, because obviously his character, they're all important characters, but his character sort of was like the catalyst, because they was all happy to sort of sit there in detention and just shut up and not do anything, and it was him sort of poking and prodding and being a bit of a rebel. So you think almost as if he would have ended up being the breakout star of this. But I think out of all of them, he probably had...
None of them, I don't think any of them really had massive careers after.
Well, Emilio Estevez
after their teens, or after these teen films.
Emilio Estevez...
Did he?
Yeah.
I know he was in a couple of films. He was in Stakeout. I remember the poster for Stakeout. I don't remember the film so much. It's Richard Dreyfuss and him under a bed.
They had two of them.
Right.
And also the Young Guns films were big with him in. You know, as I said, that Judgment Night was a really good film.
So he's probably done the best out of them all.
It was also the Mighty Ducks, which were very popular. He done them films. But his career, if you look at his career, his best mate was like Tom Cruise. Very similar actors. You know, same height, sort of very same build. They was actually in The Outsiders together as well, I think. And they've cameoed in each other's films in small parts. Their careers were almost identical. And it got to a certain point where...
Top Gun?
No, even round about the time of Top Gun. Top Gun's probably round about the time of Breakfast Club. And out of the two of them, I'd rather have been in Breakfast Club than Top Gun.
Yeah.
You know, they both had similar careers. They were both highly respected. They done both really well. But then Emilio Estevez suddenly sort of quit acting. And it was around about that time, Tom Cruise then just sort of catapulted.
Yeah.
So if Emilio Estevez continued his career, there's every likelihood he would have had half the roles that Tom Cruise had.
Yeah.
So they could have both continued being quite big.
Yeah. Simple Minds were initially reluctant to record Don't You Forget About Me, believing it was just a throwaway song for a forgettable movie. They recorded the song within 3 hours and then quickly forgot about it. They continued to work on their next album. After the movie came out, they discovered that the song had reached #1 in the US charts.
Yeah.
And it is a brilliant song.
And it's their most famous song, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's a couple of others. Alive and Kicking's alright, it's quite a good song. But this is the one which they'll always be remembered for. When they die,
yeah,
they'll say...
Breakfast Club star.
What's his name? Jim Kerr, is it? What's his name?
Jim Kerr, yeah.
Yeah.
Simple Minds.
I always thought he looked a bit like Gary Oldman. When you see him in that video, he looks like a young Gary Oldman. But
I love that line in it. One of my favourite lines in a movie. And I think that's what got me in the film when I watched it first time round. It's like, she goes, when you grow up, your heart dies. When you grow up, your heart dies. And I thought, I wonder, you know, because when you're young, you think you know everything and you've all these emotions going through your head. And then you look at adults and you think, do you feel these same sort of things? And you feel like, do you sort of grow up and your heart sort of dies and you stop caring about things that you think that mattered so much when you're young? And there is an element of truth in it. I don't think it's, you change and things that are important ain't as important because obviously comes with life and experiences. But there is an element of truth in that. And I find that quite touching when I see that for the very first time. And I think that was quite, sort of got a bit of a gulp in my throat with that bit.
Although, she doesn't, as an adult, she doesn't think that's true. Because I remember you mentioned that, she said she goes to it is slightly true to a degree, extent, yeah.
But she understands. She goes, but it just like similar to what I just said. It's like your values change and you go in different directions. You still love. It's like losing parts of yourself. It's like, you know, going from a baby to a toddler to a child to a teenager to an adult. It's like you lose them parts that was so important at them times that you know, and you
lose the wonder. You still used to look at things and think, "Wow,
that's what it is." The
amazing.
Magic of everything, yeah, exactly. And the, you know, it's all new and everything's all new. Whereas once things ain't new no more, and it's just going through life and the same old, you know, the same old like fingers to the bone, sort of working and like bills and families and, you know, relationships and stuff like that. Then. You know, John Hughes originally wanted The Breakfast Club to be a 2.5 hour movie. However, many of the scenes were cut out and the negatives destroyed. John Hughes said in a premiere that he had the only complete copy of The Breakfast Club on film. Among the cut scenes from the movie, some filmed, some was only written, are Carl predicts where the 5 kids will be in 30 years. Now, I have seen this bit and that's a really good scene.
I am the eyes and ears of this institution, my friends. I know where you are now, and I know where you'll be in the future. Twat lips! You get 10 years max. That's right. Drugs, rundown trailer in West Texas. Your whore bitch wife takes the kid, splits. You shoot a fatal dose, game over.
Dogs eat your carcass before the cops arrive. They don't even know who you are. Probable, maybe not. Possible, I think so. Mr. Wizard. Yeah, lots of material success. Corporate position, big bucks, black jag, big jag. Boom, boom, boom. 3 fucking heart attacks before you're 38, 39. Ms. Sensitive. Poet. Pretty fucking good. Nobody gives a shit. You have 3 kids, then you get married, then you get a nice wood-paneled station wagon, and you're the hit of the carpool, believe me. Huh. Muscle butt. District sales manager of a golf club manufacturer. Here's Andy. 22.5 a year, shitty little compact car, and that stewardess you married, boy, becomes a boxcar. I mean, huge. Homecoming queen. 6 facelifts and 2 boob jobs by the time you're 40, and a husband with more girlfriends than anniversaries. Hey, but I'm just the janitor, huh? By the way, that clock's 20 minutes fast.
I reckon probably it was best. It was as is. But I think
the right balance.
I would like to see the version once. Yeah. Then I'd just watch the original one again. But I'd like to see the version just so in my head I've got them bits, you know. During the cast reunion to honour the film's 25th anniversary, Ali Sheedy revealed that the director's cut existed, but Hughes' widow did not disclose any details concerning its whereabouts. So there's lots of bits. I'd like to see the original, as I say, it's that much longer, but then, you know, things happen for a reason. It's a massively successful film, even to this day. It's still relevant, so maybe it needed to have them cuts in it, because I mean, some of them cuts, like the dream sequences and all that, sound fun, but might have just taken away from the look of the movie.
Sometimes things can outstay their welcome as well, and it'll be like one of those, you know, like for example, there are some big epic films which are good films, like say like Gone with the Wind or Das Boot, or you know, or Once Upon a Time in America. These films, great films, but they're like 3 hours long. And if you're not wanting to watch them, you have to set a whole day apart for it. And it's fine, but what's good about this film, it's one that you can revisit. It's one that you could watch, and you could watch it again like a year later. And you wouldn't have to necessarily sit a whole day apart. You go a couple of hours, let's sit down, let's watch Breakfast Club. So sometimes less is more.
Yeah, you know? No, I agree with you. I think there's the selfish part of me, because I loved it so much, I want to see as much, I want to absorb it all. I want to see it in the vision that he visualised this whole film in the beginning and made. And
then probably never watch that version again.
Yeah, it's the same with Breakfast. It's the same with Miracle in London for you.
Yeah,
it's like all the deleted scenes in that. Like I would love to see it, just so I've seen it once, and then it's in my brain. I can see it.
I'll tell you another example. You got Alien and Aliens and
Aliens director's cut. Yeah,
and Terminator 2. All 3 of them, they've got director's cuts, which I've watched and I've enjoyed, but when I watch the films now, I watch the original theatrical cut.
Yeah, even though you find out a lot more in the director's cut, like you see Newt's family, you sort of you see Ripley's daughter, the picture of Ripley's daughter, you know, who died of old age, which is like, it's lovely, but yeah, it's not necessarily needed, and you don't find yourself having to look at that version again because you've seen it.
And also, this long version of this probably has the 1,000-word essay that they're supposed to do, rather than the 96 words which he does at the end.
The marijuana the actors smoke in the film was actually oregano.
Boring. You know, I think that even though Brian is seen as the brain, or like the intelligent one, I actually think the most intelligent one is probably Ali Sheedy's character, because you can her creativity, her artistic skills, that art she does is fantastic. The ability,
like Lily, isn't she?
Yeah.
If Liddy was a bit quieter and like sort of more subdued, and
that's probably the most like Lily.
Yeah.
You know, she's her own personality.
But also very, very, very observant and can see what's going on around her, but also don't realise that she can read people. She can see exactly. She gets them all spot on.
And also, whatever else she does, obviously the ability to lie so quickly like that, or to sort of say things so quickly and so believable, she is a sign of intelligence. Also, the way she can memorise Brian's details, where she says about his security number and stuff like that. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
To sort of memorise these things. So it actually shows that she's a hyper intelligent person. But at the end, she's smart enough, knows not to sort of fall into that trap when they con Brian into writing the essay. Look, you're the most intelligent one.
Yeah.
Why don't you write it? She's like, yeah, you write it, because she hasn't got anything to prove to anyone.
It was originally suggested there would be several sequels to the movie, occurring every 10 years, in which the Breakfast Club would get back together. This did not pass due to the volatile relationship between John Hughes and Judd Nelson. Hughes stated that he would never work with Nelson again. Also, it was unclear whether or not Hughes still held ill wish against his off-cast Scarlet, Molly Ringwald. They had a falling out in the late 80s after Ringwald decided to move on from the teen film genre, which you mentioned earlier. I didn't know he fell out with Judd Nelson.
Yeah, he was. He never
worked with him again, actually. Yeah, none of his other films wasn't in, was he?
In Breakfast Club, he was being very method. Like, he'd be horrible to Molly Ringwald off camera as well, because John Bender's character was horrible, and apparently John Hughes got really angry with him behind the scenes. But that's just how some actors are. I don't personally get that. I always like the story of Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman. And you got that famous scene. So you got Laurence Olivier, one of the greatest sort of theatre actors of all time, and you got Dustin Hoffman, one of the greatest method actors of all time. And method actors would often starve themselves or pull out teeth, all kinds of stuff like that. Really horrible stuff to sort of cause themselves pain. And in Marathon Man, there's a bit where like he's being tortured. It's famous.
I've heard the dentist
when he's saying it's safe. And Laurence Olivier, between shots, he went to Dustin Hoffman because he could see the agony he's putting himself through. He says, "Darling, why don't you just try acting?" It's that sort of divide. Some people take it too far, too serious. And we could say, well, it's a great performance though. Look, he starved himself for that role. He lived on the streets for that role and whatever else. But at the end of the day, you're a human being. You're putting yourself through all this for your art. It's a balance, you know. And I think Judd Nelson obviously was in that school of method, thinking, I'm gonna really get into the part. I'm gonna dress up. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna crash into. I'm gonna try and act out.
It's just different people have got different styles, haven't they? John Hughes told Ali Sheedy to go to bed and wake up the next day as Allison. Sheedy said she thought, I don't have to wake up as Allison. I am Allison. And also, Ali Sheedy said in a 2020 interview that her son never wanted to watch any of her films, but when he was 13, he had to watch Breakfast Club because it was part of his young Beck Lansbury's film class curriculum. She said that afterwards he told her it was a good movie, that he liked her character and that he thought she'd done a good job. She also joked that it gave her a little modicum of a coolness with him. I suppose it would do if you see your parent in a film when you get to a certain age and you actually look and go, oh, that's what you do. And especially when your peers start liking it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like if you've got like your friends in class going, oh, that's your mum, then you're going to be proud, aren't you?
In a way as well, she's probably the coolest character in a way. As much as John Bennett sort of puts himself across as cool, he does come across as a bully sometimes and a bit nasty. And you think, I think he thinks of himself as cool. I think this is in purpose, by the way. I think Sarah's intended. He thinks of himself as cool, as the rebel, the James Dean type. But in actuality, which is pointed out, one of my favourite scenes in the film is when the teacher gets him alone in the thing and says, "You're a piece of shit, and you're going to be." And when you're out,
that's what he's told all his life, though, isn't it? That's what he's been told at home.
Yeah, but for him, I think it sort of
his guard
it really hits him. there
Yeah.
because the teacher's like, you've got no one to perform to.
Yeah.
It's you and me. You want to fight? We'll
Yeah.
have a fight.
Yeah.
And you see, he turns into a child again.
Yeah, it's a boy.
Because
little
he
boy.
really is. He's a lost child. He's acting out because he needs the attention.
Yeah.
Because he needs.
It's the only way he
affection.
knows how. Yeah, exactly. That's why, I mean, it's so clever, the writing in this film.
And like you said, all the characters, there are aspects of the characters.
Yeah.
Even if you don't completely identify with
there's
one
bits of them.
individually,
Yeah.
you might go,
I think
can
I picked up bits out of it. Allison was probably the one that I think I associated with a lot at that time.
Allison is like the introvert, the artistic introvert, someone who's really artistic and is on the outside. She is literally the most outsider of the group because
Yeah.
she sits at the back where she physically sits, and she's the last one to talk. How long does it take?
Like 45 minutes, I was 25 minutes, I think, before she says a word in the
And
film.
she sits there, and I think she's the only one who doesn't talk to Vernon. You know, doesn't have any sort of interaction with. Like he said something to her, goes, "You missy,"
And then she just puts her head on the table. Yeah.
But likewise, every single one of those characters, if someone's who's a high performer, who's sort of getting good grades and feels the pressure of someone having to get good grades, they would identify with Brian because especially the bit where I love the bit where they sort of tell their stories while they're in detention because it's
And they're all sort of, and you see as they're all, even though they're all so different, they're all fixing this bond slowly building between them all, and like this friendship is growing and respect for each other and understanding where each other's come from.
Yeah.
You know, like seeing it from someone else's point of view.
And it's and I think
And it ain't also perfect being the princess, ain't so perfect being the jock. You know, like you know, there is the brain. Oh yeah, but you're clever. Yeah, but then this and that. You know, they're
the
all
pressure of being clever, the pressure of expecting to get good grades, and now he's like, I failed because this thing wouldn't work, so he's going to kill himself.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, it's powerful. I would say this is John Hughes' best film.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, easily.
I would say so. I love loads of his films.
I love loads of his films.
This was the one that sort of that spoke to me.
And
I've probably seen more than any other. He's done this before 16 Candles, yeah.
But because it was like nothing happens in it, because it was more of a character.
He had to get 16 Candles to be successful for them to sort of okay this film, because this film wasn't really.
But ironically, I think this is.
It's all set in one room. It wasn't. There wasn't all this. As you said, there was nothing in it that was selling its people, apart from the writing and the dialogue, and the characters. And he believed in it, and he could see it, but they wasn't open-minded enough to understand. So it's only the success of 16 Candles that let him do this, and thank God, because it's his most successful, I would say.
How would you pitch this film to someone who hasn't seen it?
Exactly.
If you said watch Breakfast Club, look, what happens in it?
There's
they're in
5
detention.
kids in
detention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and what happens?
Yeah, nothing really. Yeah,
they're in detention. That is it. But it's a fantastic case study on humans, on human emotions.
Yeah.
You know, many people feel that the original prototype of this movie was Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, with its Broadway encounter group formula, which had people holed up together in a room and arguing, shouting, divulging personal secrets and revelations and confronting each other to move the drama. Which it is, you could see it.
Have you seen that? Whatever. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? It's Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, I believe.
Yeah, but it's a play originally. But
it's a film as well. Yeah.
But the idea behind it is like, if you was doing a stage play. And they said, you're going to do a John Hughes film. This is really the only one you can do. This would be perfect.
Oh, this would be perfect because it's all set in one room.
Yeah.
Oh, like little offcuts.
You have little offcuts, but you do that easily on the stage. You just turn the lights down and have centred on.
Easy to do. Easy to do.
A couple of chairs in the corner.
I'm surprised they've never done it. Actually, I think
I'm sure someone has.
They could do a modern version. They could update it all the time as long as the storyline's the same. It doesn't. It just has to, the look just has to change. So it doesn't have to be 80s. No. I'm just saying.
Can you imagine what an updated version this would be?
No, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to watch it anyway.
Stanley Kubrick watched The Breakfast Club 4 times and was really impressed by Anthony Michael Hall's performance. He compared Hall to a young Spencer Tracy. Kubrick wanted to cast him in the lead role of Private Joker in his upcoming film Full Metal Jacket, but after months of negotiations, Hall turned down the offer. The part went to Matthew Modine. That's a brilliant film. I love Full Metal Jacket.
I've never seen it.
You must have seen it.
Never seen it. I'm not really into war films, am I? The only war film I like is Hope and Glory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love it. You know, it's like seeing through the eyes of a child.
Yeah, but
like in London.
Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick for one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that. Briefly going back onto that is the highest praise you could possibly get. The Stanley Kubrick would seek you out, because Stanley Kubrick is the guy who other actors beg for a role. They want to be in his films. His films are few and far between, but they are so well thought out, so well made. And Full Metal Jacket, you've definitely got to watch Full Metal Jacket. It's not a war film.
I'll give it a go.
It's a really
there's don't start choosing it for the next podcast. I ain't ready to watch it yet.
Next week. No, but honestly, that is. And the Matthew Modine part is the lead person who's going through it. I could see Anthony Michael Hall playing that part, and what a role to turn down. That would have been so good for him.
Yeah, he might have then sort of got out of the teen sort of movie thing, because that's the look. He looks completely different now.
Yeah.
As an actor, like as a child, I would not look at him then and look at him now. There's no similarity. I look at his face and I think that could be like, it's like when they change an actor in a soap. And you look and go, that ain't the same character. They brought a different character in, because he doesn't look anything like what he looks like when he was younger. He's quite like, looks like a proper man. But see, you know, he looks like Weasley and little nerdy sort of like, but I suppose he was a youngster. He's like that kind of awkward shape, you know, when you're that kind of age and your body isn't changed yet. But he could have then grown into a fantastic actor if he'd acted throughout the years. Because look, he looks like just like a normal bloke now. And if he's continued doing good films, he would have been like the lead roles. He could have been like Heartthrob in this, or he could have broken out of the stereotype that everyone sort of visualises him as.
Well, you see him in Edward Scissorhands. That was the first time I see him bumped out.
Yeah, that's
the
first time
he
I ever
plays like
seen
the
him
jock
in a film.
in that, doesn't he? He plays like the nasty bully jock person. Now that's round about the time. So yeah, if he'd done Full Metal Jacket leading into Edward Scissorhands, I think that would have started his adult career. I mean, he's been working consistently for years, and he has been in some good films. But it's not the career.
But he's not broken. He's not had a breakthrough. He's not like starring.
It's not an
Anthony Michael Hall. Like you go, who's that? We'd know it because we're from the 80s. Like we know that.
Well, I didn't recognise him in The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was one of the biggest sort of films of the early 2000s, and he plays a small part in that. But he doesn't. He looks completely different. He grew into, as you said, he grew into a man. He was a skinny little boy.
He's in the new Halloween, wasn't he? In one of the new Halloween films, he played the new Tommy, the little boy. Molly Ringwald said in interviews that the movie is about the universal feeling we all have, especially in high school, that we are all outsiders, we all feel alone, and yet we all want to be accepted. Which is true. I think that's probably what it is. That's why it does resonate with so many people, even to this day, is because the story is still the same. The background has changed, but the story, the core, is still relevant because it's part of growing up. It's part of teenage years.
And I think, I can only speak as a man who's like early 40s, but I always think that the teenage years is the hardest part. Those high school years, the secondaries, because you are thrown in a world where people have no filter. They will say the nastiest things to you, to your face. People just, and you're expected to carry on. And then on top of that, then you have the adults who are telling you you're not doing good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. There's you're
like a sponge at that age. Yeah. You suck it all in, and then things like that, things that are said to you at that age, you carry through for life.
And this is why teenage suicides are such a high rate.
Of course it is.
Because the pressure they get, and that's what this film does well, because it highlights the different kind of teenagers, the different pressures, whether it's sporting, whether it's trying to impress their parents with like their achievements or whatever, whether it's trying to be socially accepted by their friends, like Claire, or whether it's like him trying to sort of get good grades and the pressure he has, because you think he's had pats on the head his whole life, and just because that thing didn't work, what was it, the clock or something, didn't work,
the lamp,
he's now getting an F for that, and his average is going to be a B. And that's like, I was supposed to be an A student and I can't do anything for this. So, you know, the pressures on teenagers are real, but people don't acknowledge it. People go, "Oh, when you're an adult,
forget your teens. When you grow up, you do forget what it's like.
What it was like.
Because life gets in the way, and it's only when you stop and think, you think, "Oh, hang on a minute, I did feel like that at that age, and you don't associate with a teenager when you're older because it's such a long time ago, and you've come through that part. Like you can't identify with a child because you've grown up. And this is what I'm saying. You go through certain stages of your life, and you'll never be back into them stages again. It's all just, you know, you can look back and I remember as a kid, I used to love Christmas, I love this, love that innocence, the magic. You don't get that magic when you're older. You don't ever get that kind of. You know, you never, that feeling of knowing that Father Christmas is coming the next day is like, it's just the most, it's the magic of all of that. I love it. So much.
It goes, and it's the teenage years where it goes, it's the high school. And I was fortunate. And
your body changes, and then this is when you start digging everyone out for the differences. Yeah. So there's an insecurity, and it's all like sort of dragged to the surface in front of everyone else. And yeah, it's it's the worst time to come through. It can be, like, even I think successful people that go through their teens, people that love their teens and are like adored by people, they've all got their insecurities as well. There's problems with everyone.
I feel like throughout my high school, I was relatively popular. I got on with pretty much everyone. I was like that middle ground person. I'll probably identify most out of this as a mixture, but like, say like an Allison type, but sort of popular as well. So, like, I got on with everyone. But I never worried about overachieving. I was never sort of thinking to get good grades, even though I was quite smart.
Yeah.
I remember the day I got my GCSEs and the teachers being surprised that I'd done so well. And they said, why did you do so, like, in maths you've done well, but we never taught you, because they only taught the people, 4 kids at the front of the class, they were teaching them, the rest of us were playing cards at the back. And I was like, well, I don't know, I've just done well, I guess. But the thing that stuck with me that day is looking outside, and there was this one boy walking round and round in circles, in bits, and everyone, people. So he was a boffin kid. You know, he done really well throughout school, and people, it was horrible to him. Everyone was just standing there like, I feel so sorry for him because he got bad grades, and you see him.
And you don't know what's going on in his home life as well.
No, but it was the Andrew character. It's basically him. He was expected to get good grades. Now he hasn't. And his life has fallen apart in front of us all. Yeah. And it was like, God, and I remember thinking, I wish I could give my grades to him, because it means so much more to him. He's going to go into his parents. He doesn't realise that his parents will love him regardless. But you don't know that as a kid.
You don't know, but also you don't know what people's home lives are like. You can assume as well, you don't know what's going on. Right, anyway, in reality, Molly Ringwald could not do the lipstick trick. They had to use different camera angles to make it appear that she could. And also, Molly Ringwald, this is what I said earlier, had declared in interviews, when you grow up, your heart dies, said by Allison in the movie, is her favourite line, which is my favourite line in the movie, I think. I love it.
Yeah, John Hughes done the lipstick trick. He knew how to do it. He was the one trying to teach her how to do it.
So John Hughes had bigger boobs than Molly Ringwald. Yeah, other proposed titles were, The Lunch Bunch and Library Revolution.
No. I always thought a sequel could have worked, but it should be something where it's so far in the future, say like 30 years later, and their lives are completely, they've all changed as people.
Yeah, but I think it'd ruin
the
magic of this.
Yeah, sequels don't work.
So
I don't like. I like the fact that a sequel never came of it, but I was just thinking maybe it'd be good to get them all together again, but something separate. You know.
Judd Nelson's clothes in the movie are the outfit he auditioned in for the role of John Bender.
Oh,
that's the clothes he actually wore. And the film is also shot in sequence. Which is, I like that when they do that, because I think then you can watch the characters grow. And I remember there was the kissing scene apparently between Molly Ringwald and Judd Nelson was really passionate. It was a lot longer and there was a lot more to it. But then you think as well, he was 25 and she was 16.
He was 23.
Or 23.
But even still...
No, I think he was 25. Ali Sheedy was 23. And Meg US was 24.
Well, that was the facts I brought up before. He was 23.
Okay, well, he was a lot older than her anyway, and she was 16. So.
Yeah, that wouldn't have felt comfortable with me. I remember doing a film with Jeremy and Lee. It was a short film. And there was these 2 girls who fancied me in it. And I was 16 and they were 14. And I didn't want to kiss them because I thought,
no,
they're 14.
Yeah.
And I know it's only a 2-year difference.
Yeah, but you're 16.
God, they're 41 now.
Oh, you might mind kissing them now then, is that what you're saying? Right, anyway. On IMDb, this film got 7.8 out of 10.
I think it should be a little bit higher.
Yeah, I would put it a bit
Not
higher.
even just for a personal thing. I would have put it early 8s, 8.1. I would have put it out. Let me try and guess the critics.
Rotten Tomatoes,
Okay, I'm going to guess.
the critics give it,
I think the critics would give it 85%.
no, 87%.
I was close. And I think the audience, 91%.
92%. Yeah, you just...
I was close. I swear to God, I never looked. I was just guessing. I was just thinking who it would speak to more. I think the critics would get it, but I think, like you said, the audience, it's one of those films, like Lily watched it. I think people, even if you don't know why you like it, you watch it and you think something, a character in it, something that's said,
resonates with something
they're going
in
through.
your brain. Yeah,
It's universal because school is universal. Most people
and I
go
like
to
that.
school.
I like it because I love the film so much. I like the fact that it's still reaching out to people. It's still relevant for the youth of today. So it's sort of like, it just shows that we are all the same. We're different generations, but we go through the same stages in life and the same problems. It's
Really
Anyway.
not so different after all,
yeah, exactly.
as the song says.
Yeah, it's true. I love the songs in this film as well.
Oh yeah, this
I love all the music in it. Like there's that, there's the Fire in the Twilight, Man That Leads the Way. You know, I love that one. And there's also the
I also like
We Are Not Alone when they're all dancing in the library. I love it. I love all the songs in it.
You know what? I like the little bits of music as well. Like when it's sort of like them being
When they're all
bored.
daydreaming.
Yeah, and also the love tune at the end. No, when she
Yeah.
comes out all transitioned.
Yeah, when she's kissing him in the
Which she
room.
wasn't entirely happy with either. She said, "I don't think I should have had a full makeover. I think I should have done something simple like taking my jacket off and looked a little bit more."
But I think it's lovely because she does look lovely. She doesn't go mad. She's not like all tighted up. And in the 80s, you'd expect her to walk out with a big perm, shoulder pads, like
it's very simple.
like really
simplistic,
sort of like green eyeliner, eyeshadow, and big lips, and like red cheeks. So she's really subtle for an 80s makeover. Isn't she? Really, probably the most subtle 80s makeover I think I've ever seen in a film.
Isn't this the only John Hughes film where Anthony Michael Hall doesn't have like a love interest? He doesn't sort of get with a girl.
No, I don't know. He's
pretty
only been
sure
in
I
a
read
couple.
that.
He's only been in about 2 or 3. So what? Weird Science, yeah, he does. 16 Candles. He kisses a girl.
Yeah, I think this
The
is
prom
the only
queen
one.
girl. He kisses her. He doesn't get hold of her. It's like he's just like.
No,
nerdy
I'm
boy.
pretty sure this is the only one there where he has no sort of romantic.
Right, the budget for this film was $1 million, and the box office it made $51.5 million. So, good return, very good return.
That was good. That's really good.
Yeah, really good.
Wow.
51.5, and the thing is, this still makes money to this day. This film will continue making money because it is, as I say, it's still successful. It's still loved, and it's still being seen for the first time by people, and I love that.
And it's referenced in so many things. It was one of those things. I was going to make a list, but it was too many. Like everything you can think of is.
I've seen like piss takes of it, and not piss takes, little mock-ups of it in sitcoms and
Bob's
comedies.
Burgers done an episode where there was like
Posters, like redoing this that classic poster. It's such a
Family
it's so
Guy.
pop. What's it called? Pop culture. Yeah, it is so. It's so up there.
It's in the popular zeitgeist.
Yeah.
It's referenced so much. Again, it was no point going down that route because.
But you love this film, then?
Yeah,
you love this film as well.
Yeah,
I love it. I still love
really
it.
like this film, and it does hold up to repeat watchings. And each
yeah.
time you watch it,
Even
you
now.
do notice different things, and your perception of it, of certain characters, might change each time depending on how you are. When you're younger, you might think, "I really like that character," but when you're older, you go, "You know what? I think I identify more with that person now."
Yeah.
So it's
It's
really
so well written.
Like I identify with the teacher.
Yeah.
Fucking kids, just shut up.
Yeah, it is so well written. But I'm glad
it's a
we
good
finally
choice.
got this one done. So that was Breakfast Club, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't seen the film, go and watch it. It's a fantastic film.
And next week, I've spoken to our cousin Matthew, who's on Elephant Man. He really wants to do The Quiet Man from 1952, which is
I've not seen that.
When
So you're doing that with Matt?
Yeah,
Cool.
John Wayne. John Wayne in Ireland. I don't think it's not like a western. it's like a romantic comedy, feel good type thing. So yeah,
Okay, that'd be nice.
we're doing that. So
Lovely.
go watch The Quiet Man and join us again next week. And yeah.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch up with you next week. See you
Share,
later.
like,
Bye-bye.
share, subscribe, and
Bye-bye.
share.
Stop sharing. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
When you grow up, your heart dies.
Who cares?
I care.